let's say that by February, most of us have fallen off of the bandwagon when it comes to any goals that we set in January. We've sort of started stumbling, and it might be difficult to keep our eye on where we want it to be. So it seemed like a good time in the year to discuss 5 books that I think really dig into the discussion of transformation. First book I'm going to talk about is Fire by Kristin Cashore. The entire book community is raving about Winterkeep right now, so it would be a decent time to pick up 1 or 2 of her books. Fire is our main character who we follow in book 2 of the Graceling Realm series. She is what the people around her call a monster. A monster is an animal, or in Fire's case, a person who has very brightly colored features, and if my mind serves me correctly, because it has been a couple years since I read this book, they have some sort of supernatural abilities that the average human does not. Now, while we're watching this very colorful and beautiful world that Kristin Cashore has painted for us unfold on another level, we are also watching our main character, Fire, struggle through how to navigate a world where she is not the norm. She starts to address questions about where she wants to go in her life, and whether or not she wants to have a family, and whether or not she wants to pass on her genetics, and whether or not she wants to marry because it would be to a person that she's friends with. And she's navigating all of these things, and of course taking on these huge coming of age and finding yourself transformative moments. And because the entire book is set within Fire's head from her perspective, we get to watch her make these leaps in thought that are very important for understanding how and why she's making the decisions that she's making. And by the end of the book, we see that she has not only transformed the way that she thinks about herself and the way that she views the world, also been able to take agency in her life and keep her eyes on what she wants and what she doesn't want. The second book on this list is Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. Now, I know that a lot of people have probably seen the show on Amazon Prime, but if you haven't read the book, you really should. I'm as big a fan of David Tennant as the next Whovian, but I just have to say that the way that it's all constructed in the book is very well done and hilarious, and of course it comes from 2 very brilliant minds in the fantasy genre. So in this book, it's not just a person who's transforming, it's also the world transforming over time. And although it's happening in this very comedic and kind of cynical post-apocalyptic way, we get to see humanity change over time, and we get to watch people come to terms with the fact that everything is not as normal as they would like it to be. So we have these 2 contrasting points of view that we get to follow throughout the book, and that is Crowley and Azoriel, whose name I know I'm not pronouncing right, but I just can't make it work in my mouth right now. So we follow these 2 characters, and Azoriel is an angel and therefore has the what you would think would be an angel's philosophy on life. And Crowley, who is a demon, has what you would think would be a demon's philosophy on life. And you get to see them come together and sort of meet in the middle on a lot of things. And you find that the good and the bad are not necessarily so different from one another, and they end up becoming very close friends. And getting to watch that transformation, along with how the world is reacting to the fact that it's literally the end of the world, is all very satisfying, and of course illustrates again that transformation happens over time.
So you want to talk about Race by Ijeoma Oluo. I feel like I talk about this book a lot on this channel, and I'm not sorry for that, because it was an eye-opening book for me, as I think it was meant to be. And with the state of things right now being what they are, and the Black community's struggle against everything, it's an important book to read so that we can understand how we might be able to move the discussion about race forward, which I think we would all agree is a transformation that really needs to happen. Ijeoma goes through a lot of her personal experiences growing up as a black woman. She talks about privilege, and she talks about cultural appropriation, and she talks about black hair, and it's all from a very personal perspective. So I would also classify So You Want to Talk About Race as a book that, even if you're not generally into nonfiction, this book progresses in a way that you're following a narrative through a story of a life. So I think you would like it even if you're mainly a fiction reader. And it's short. So two things. I will admit that this is kind of a weird pick, and I also admit that this technically makes this list 6 books and not 5. But Strange Planet and Stranger Planet by Nathan W. Pyle, first of all, they're so small that I just, I was like, I can make them be in the same place on this list. But these 2 books are funny, and of course you can see a lot of his comics online on his Instagram, and he just touches on so many things where so that if you don't know the premise behind these books, it is that these aliens are living on this very strange planet, and we're just sort of following this group of beings through their discoveries of being on this very strange planet. The implication being that they've my interpretation being that they have landed on Earth, and they are kind of discovering how that works. Then again, there's also a comic of them having a 3-eyed dog at some point, so I think it was a 3-eyed dog? I'm tangenting. Anyway, these 2 books touch on a lot of just very human principles of being. I guess maybe even more than it discussing transformation, it just discusses the human condition in general, but I feel like it's really important to understand the human condition if we also want to understand how we can transform ourselves into the person that we want to be. And this also just takes a lot of situations that would maybe not necessarily be pleasant for us to go through, but these aliens have such a different view of this world because everything is new that they find a lot of joy in it. It doesn't hurt that it puts a big smile on your face. And if you have fallen off of your bandwagon of whatever goals you set in January, then you should let yourself smile a little bit and not get too down on yourself. So the 5th or 6th, depending on how much leeway you're going to give me, book that I'm going to talk about
is The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. I don't think it's any secret why this is on this list of books, but we'll go into it anyway. Black Flamingo is written in verse, and we follow a character named Michael who is discovering himself as a Jamaican Cypriot, and also exploring his sexuality. We get to see some very fun and invigorating scenes about drag, and we get to see Michael just completely own who he is as he is going through this transformation. And of course, I think it's very important to understand that if we are reaching for goals or reaching to be different from our current selves in some way, it's important to own who you are now and also own the journey. And this is a book that, as you can see, there are several tabs, is just beautifully written, and it goes by so fast, and it has a lot of really meaningful commentary in it when it comes to things like personal growth or personal discovery. If you know of some books about transformation that you think that I should read or that you've read recently that you are super stoked to talk about, please let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to see more by me, hit the subscribe button. If you click the bell, it will give you notifications whenever I post up new videos. And if you want to check out my other social media and shenanigans, that is all in the description box below. Thank you again so much, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.